In the heart of the Congo, there have long been tales of extraordinary creatures. From the depths of its rivers to the shadows of its dense forests, there are plenty of stories of giant creatures that are said to hide within the darkest parts of the jungle. For some, these stories are mere folklore, creepy tales around a campfire. But for others, it's very possible that something is hidden within the jungles of the Congo. In this video, we'll be looking at a few of those creatures. As always, there are time codes down below if you want to skip ahead. The last section I fully understand if you want to. So let's get into it. Perhaps the most famous of these creatures that are said to reside within the Congo is Mokele-Mbembe. Described as a massive, long-necked reptile, most often compared to a prehistoric sauropod. The name originates from the Lingala language and is commonly translated to one who stops the flow of rivers, which definitely hints at its massive size and the power it has in the water. Supposedly, the first report of this creature is a passage from a 1776 book by a French cleric who served as a missionary in the Congo basin in the 1760s. In this book, the cleric wrote that he had seen enormous footprints of some animal in that region. Another well-known report about this alleged creature came from a German captain and was described in a 1941 book called The Lungfish and the Unicorn by author Willy Ley. According to this book, in 1913, the captain had been ordered to conduct a survey of German colonies in Cameroon. During his time in this area, he would hear stories of an enormous reptile that lived in the jungles. The captain even included a description of this creature in his official report, though I should mention this report has never been formally published. It's only been referred to by other authors. According to the alleged report, the creature was a brownish gray color with smooth skin that was roughly the size of an elephant. It had a long and very flexible neck with one big sharp tooth, which some have interpreted as a horn. There have also been reports of a frill of the back of the head, similar to the comb found on a male chicken. The creature also had a long, muscular tail like that of an alligator. It supposedly lives in the caves that have been washed out by the river, and anyone traveling down the river when the creature is near is doomed, as the animal will attack the vessels immediately and kill its crews. But it does not consume the bodies, and this is because the creature is a herbivore, though a highly territorial and aggressive one. According to the author Willy Ley, the captain was very careful with the wording on his report, as he was very aware that this story might be seen as unbelievable. But he supposedly did believe these tales, as he had been given the same details of this creature by various independent sources. However, another book from 1929 called Dragons, Legend and Science by author Wilhelm Bulsche claimed that the captain did not believe that the creature was real. Instead, he had interpreted it as simply local folklore and not descriptions of an actual animal. Again, the report has never been formally published, so it's hard to say which, if any, of these two reports have the more accurate details. As for the creature itself, some believe that the creature is nothing but a hoax, while others believe that this creature could simply be a case of misidentification, such as a rhino or an elephant or another bigger creature. Another argument against the creature existing is the lack of fossil records for this creature in the area, and by that I mean the actual sauropod. And there have been footprints photographed, but they don't have the right number of toes to be the creature that the Mokele-Mbembe is supposed to be. Of course, none of this have stopped people from looking for this creature or believing in its existence. Our next creature that are said to roam the Congo is also within the prehistoric creature theme, though it's not as well known as the Mokele-Mbembe. This creature is called the Kasai Rex. In 1932, a Swedish hunter named John Johansson embarked on a hunt. Accompanied by his servant, he left their camp in Cape Town, navigating through a swamp before reaching the savanna of the Kasai Valley. But oddly, this valley seemed completely devoid of any animals. This made the men very cautious, and they started scanning their surroundings. It was completely silent, which was only broken by the servant excitedly pointing towards 2 elephants that he had spotted. John prepared his gun, but before he could shoot, a strange detail caught his attention. There were only 2 elephants. Elephants are herd animals, so seeing only 2 was very odd. But then they spotted something else. Something was moving through the undergrowth, approaching these 2 elephants. And without warning, this creature lunged out of the bushes to attack. The servant immediately took cover in the dense vegetation while John was frozen on the spot for a second before he decided to confront whatever this creature was. So he readied his rifle, fired 3 shots, but only 1 found its mark. The creature was not facing them, it was focused on the elephants. So the 1 shot that hit it in the back, which caused the creature to recoil and then vanish back into the shadows. John then ran over to his servant, helped him to his feet, and they decided that the best course of action now was to head back to camp. This meant crossing the swamp. When they were halfway through the swamp, they were startled by a splash. Thinking that there might be crocodiles around, they started scanning the surroundings again. That's when he noticed the same creature that he had seen in the savannah, or possibly another creature of the same type. This creature was attacking a rhinoceros, and with a single bite, it tore one of the rhino's legs clean off. This made John's servant flee in terror, but John became rooted to the spot. He again thought of shooting at this creature, but to his horror, he remembered that the servant was the one carrying the weapon. The only thing that John had was his camera. He quickly took a picture of the creature, which then quickly disappeared into the lake. John then hurried back to camp, and by the time he reached camp, he was shivering and exhausted, clutching at his camera. But after resting, he would share his story with a local newspaper. Here, he described the creature as reddish in color with blackish colored stripes. It had a long snout, numerous teeth, and thick legs. John would describe the creature as a Tyrannosaurus, and it would be given the name Kasai Rex by the newspaper. This story led to many hunters heading into the valley to try to hunt this creature. Most people did not believe that it was a Tyrannosaurus. In fact, the majority of people who went looking for it believed that it was a giant crocodile, which they intended to hunt and then sell its skin for profit. One group would see something themselves. They saw a reddish tail that sunk into the lake very quickly, and then a roar that was heard from underneath the water. The group first thought that they were dealing with an anaconda, which is dangerous enough, but they soon became worried that they were dealing with something else entirely. No less dangerous, but not an anaconda. After seeing the reddish tail and a shifting mass move around underneath the water a few more times, they eventually decided to give up and leave the area. I mentioned John supposedly taking a photograph of this creature. There are actually 3 alleged photographs of the Kasai Rex, though all 3 have been dismissed as hoaxes. The original image, supposedly taken by John, shows what looks like a striped monitor lizard. If we assume the picture is real, then it might be a photograph of a previously unknown species of giant monitor lizard. The creature, possibly being a monitor lizard, also matches John's claims that the creature sank into the water, as monitor lizards are very good swimmers and a swamp wouldn't exactly be a weird setting for them. In 1980, a Belgian Air Force colonel named Remy van Lierde made an appearance on a British TV show called Mysterious World, which was hosted by writer Arthur C. Clarke. Van Lierde began his career in the Belgian Air Force in September 1935 as a fighter pilot. He served during World War II in the Belgian and British Air Forces. He was made Deputy Chief of Staff to the Minister of Defense in 1954 and became one of the first Belgians to break the sound barrier while test flying a Hawker Hunter in 1958. And in 1959, he was serving in Belgian-occupied Congo. During that time, he was serving as a colonel in the Belgian Air Force at the Kamina Air Base. The incident in question took place when he was returning from a mission by helicopter. As they flew over the forests in the Katanga region, he spotted something on the ground. An enormous snake. As they had a camera on board, they decided to make several passes over the area where the snake was to try to get as many photographs as they could. Van Lierde had served as a pilot for about 25 years at that point, and he would tell the interviewer that he had a good sense of measuring things, and he estimated the snake to be close to 50 feet. It was a dark green-brown color with a white belly and a 2-foot wide by 3-foot long triangular head. The snake was moving towards a hole in the ground, but the helicopter disturbed it, as during one of the passes over the snake, the helicopter had dipped down within 30 feet of the snake below. This caused the snake to raise up its neck by around 10 feet. Van Lierde then became worried that the snake might strike the helicopter if they got any closer to it. So they opted to leave the snake behind and head back towards base. In some variations of this story, the snake did try to attack the helicopter, but that's not the story that Van Lierde told the interviewer on this TV show. Along with the story, Van Lierde also did provide one photograph of the snake, and this photograph and the story have been the source of much debate over the years. Some arguing that Van Lierde simply misidentified an African rock python, though a very big one, and others suggesting that he might actually have seen something, an extremely big anaconda, or even a titanoboa, the largest snake ever known to exist. Supposedly, a history professor would acquire Van Lierde's photo in 1962, and after studying the photo, he sent a letter to the director of the National Photographic Interpretation Center, where he wrote that he estimated that the snake was 190 feet long, which would make this Congo snake even bigger than the estimated size of the titanoboa, which is 47 feet. The final creature is the one that inspired the video, and also this part is what I talked about in the beginning when I said you can skip ahead if you don't want to watch this. Because if you are arachnophobic, this may not be the section for you, so feel free to skip ahead. This creature is known as the Congolese giant spiders, and are said to inhabit the forests of the Congo. They are described as looking like giant tarantulas, covered in fine brown hair with 8 6-feet-long legs. They are also said to have fangs that possess a highly potent venom and are very, very dangerous. People native to the area say that this spider will hunt by spinning giant webs between 2 trees and then dig a burrow directly underneath. This burrow is then covered with leaves and other forest debris, under which the spider will hide. The web is nearly invisible and will act as a tripwire. So if an unfortunate animal gets caught in the web, the hidden spider will be alerted and will immediately attack. This type of predatory behavior is very similar to other species of spiders, specifically the trapdoor spider. The main source of food is said to be small to medium-sized game. This includes birds, forest antelope like the bongo, and also humans, because there are stories of unfortunate tribesmen who have gotten caught in the thick web only to become devoured by the spider. The most well-known encounter with one of these spiders happened in 1938 when married couple Reginald and Marguerite Lloyd reportedly encountered one of these spiders when driving in the Congo. The couple had been driving their truck when a large object suddenly ran out on the road in front of them. At first, they thought it was a cat or a monkey. They would slow their truck down to a stop to avoid colliding with this creature. Now still, they looked at this creature that was illuminated by the headlights of the truck. And that's when they realized that they were looking at a creature that resembled a very large tarantula. A giant spider with a leg span of an estimated 3 or 4 feet. Upon realizing what she was looking at, the now terrified Marguerite urged her husband to drive away. So they quickly sped down the road and back to their home. Some of the peoples indigenous to these regions of the Congo have stated that the giant spiders were once very common, a very real threat lurking in the jungle. But over the years, sightings of the creature have become very rare. A possible reason for the more rare sightings these days could be that the spiders have been driven from their natural habitats, as more and more of the rainforest are being converted to farming land. Of course, there are many who doubt that these spiders even exist. In fact, most argue that it's simply impossible for a spider to grow to that size. The biggest argument being that the spider's respiratory system would not work if they were to grow to reported sizes of these Congolese giant spiders. Another argument is that spiders have exoskeletons. Small scale, this is not a problem, but a giant spider would be carrying around a very heavy exoskeleton, which to most skeptics mean that the spider would either collapse under their own weight and be unable to move, or at least move really, really slowly. As in, the bigger the spider gets, the slower they move. Still, that hasn't stopped anyone from believing that these creatures exist. The challenge in proving the existence of these creatures lies in the remote and inaccessible nature of the Congo Basin. Dense vegetation, treacherous terrain, and dangerous wildlife make exploration extremely difficult. This in turn also makes the area perfect for tales about strange creatures, which is a very common theme in cryptid tales. Very weird creatures are often found in locations that are either very remote or very desolate. Not always, but it's a very common theme. Another theme of the Congo cryptids is gigantism, mixed in with some prehistory. Many of the creatures said to inhabit this area are big, very big. Not only that, but they also draw parallels to creatures that we know have existed once upon a time, such as dinosaurs, giant insects from the Carboniferous period, giant snakes like the Titanoboa, and so on and so on. And for some reason, they all reside in the Congo. Whether they are the remnants of ancient creatures, undiscovered species, or simply figments of imagination, the stories about the giants of the Congo are fascinating. And I would be lying if I said that there wasn't a part of me that really hoped there was some kind of undiscovered dinosaur species out there. But until we find actual proof, they exist purely in history and in stories.